thank you so much, Gianna, for being here from our bureau in Washington, D.C.
Thank you for having me, Tommy.
Gianna, why is it that Black Americans tend to vote Democrat, and what can our party do to change that?
You know what, Tommy? The Democrats have done a great job at painting a history that doesn't exist. 1854, the Republican Party was started in opposition to the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which wanted to expand slavery into the North. Since then, a number of members in the African-American community, dating back to Martin Luther King, have all been Republican because the policies of the Republican Party have been pro-Black. The Democrats, on the other hand, have been the ones that were pro-poverty, pro-welfare, and they wanted to utilize those particular issues to keep folks who were disenfranchised. I think with the Hillary encounter, it's disappointing that anyone would believe that the Black vote is for granted and the Democrats automatically assume that they can get it. I think what the Republican Party has recently done, utilizing individuals, African Americans specifically, placing them in different states in areas where people pretty much vote Democrat all the time. They've placed people in those areas to educate African Americans on the policies of the Republican Party and engage them, which I think is a very good long-term strategy. People like Crystal Hartsford, who is with the RNC, and she's the director of African American Initiatives, who also worked on the Hill, is someone who is also engaging in that effort as well. So I think they're doing a very, very good job at that.
I think they are as well, and I think that you're right to mention that the policies of the Republican Party, they're not just pro-Black, they're pro-American. It's about being able to pick yourself up, being able to start a business. Yeah, being able to start a business. So that's what frustrates me when we talk about these conversations is whether we're talking about the Latino vote, the Black vote, the women vote, the millennial vote. It seems like the Democrats want to divide everybody and say you should automatically be in our camp because we have a monopoly on X, Y, and Z. And that's frustrating for me because it's not about race at the end of the day. The person that should be in the White House in 2016, the person that should win the election, get the nominations for both parties, should be someone that stands for the American people, regardless of color, gender, age, anything of that nature. One thing, though, I do want to turn to is the Democrats and President Obama and some of their policies that have worked to the disadvantage of the Black community. One, namely, I'm thinking of off the top of my head is, executive amnesty, illegal immigration. That disadvantages a lot of minority communities. Do you think that the plight of the Black community has worsened under President Obama?
It is without question that it has, and I'll tell you why. The President Obama came into office with a supermajority in the Senate, a majority in the House, and he could have done what most people wanted him to do, work on the economy. If he believes his policies are best to benefit of all Americans, and especially a community whose double unemployment rate that of their white peers, he should have worked on the economy. He didn't. He worked on the ACA. In addition to that, since he's been president, he hasn't put much effort to engage in the African-American community when it comes to job growth. If he was really concerned with not just the gay community, which he spoke up for them, he spoke up for immigration, and he hasn't really spoke up for the African-American community, he would engage a bipartisan group of African-American business owners across this country, bring them together, and figure out how is it that we can benefit all Americans, including African-Americans, because there hasn't been many policies put forward by his administration to do that. Really none that I can think of, to be honest with you.
Exactly, because he is the president that's all for, of course, more regulation, which strangulates businesses. The ACA is something that does that primarily, so I'm glad that you're pointing that out. Next thing I want to move to, though, is let's not talk about President Obama and Hillary anymore. I'm done with them. Let's talk about the GOP. Who would you like to see in the White House? Who would you like to see get the nomination in 2016 that's going to stand up for all Americans?
You know what? That's interesting, and I think what happened recently is we saw a candidate, Dr. Ben Carlson, who is known to be the first surgeon to disconnect conjoined twins, and he became pretty much an international celebrity for that because there wasn't anyone that has done that before. Movies made by him, made of him, books, etc. I think that he's going to be a very interesting candidate. People had discounted him because he was, quote, too conservative. There's a lot of people that don't like his message, but I think at the end of the day, he goes with his values and what he believes is right, rather what people want him to say, what the establishment want him to say, or rather, politically correct speech. So I think he's going to be the candidate that the establishment should look out for, because he's advocating for things that no one in the GOP establishment will, because they think they're loser issues.
I think you're right about that one. You know, I'm a Marco Rubio girl, but I do appreciate the things that Ben Carson brings to the table.